Welcome to the show, Rod. I'm really excited to hear your story, what you're doing today. So why don't we start there, introduce yourself to the audience, and we're going to have some fun.
Awesome, David. I appreciate you having me. And fun is the name of the game. Well, my story isn't exactly fun, but let me go back and let me go back a ways, because I think hopefully it'll inspire some of your listeners. So I immigrated this country when I was 6 years old. I was actually born in Holland in the Netherlands, and we immigrated to Denver, believe it or not. And I spent the 30 years in Denver. Well, when we got there, we really didn't have much. In fact, we struggled. I wore clothes, hand-me-down clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I could get a job. And we ate expired food because that's all we could afford. My mom bought powdered milk because she thought milk was healthy. And so we had powdered milk. And now I know that especially in this time that we're in right now, there are people that are struggling, and it's going to get even worse, much worse. And maybe have had it worse. People listening have had it worse than I did. But back then I knew I wanted more. And luckily my mom was an entrepreneur, and she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. With her babysitting money, she invested in the stock market and actually made money. But she also bought the house across the street from us when I was about 14 for about $30,000. Now, when I was 17, I was about to graduate from high school. She told me that she'd made $20,000 in her sleep, that they'd gone up $20,000. And I was like, what? Screw college. I'm getting into real estate. So I got, I'm going to be rich in real estate. So I got my real estate broker's license, and I thought I was going to be rich selling other people's houses, and got my broker's license actually right when I turned 18. Back then you could do it with education. They got smart now, and you actually have to have some experience before you can become a quote unquote broker instead of just an agent. But I was a broker. And my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. My second year, I made about $10,000. But my third year, I made well over $100,000, which back in, 1981 was a decent chunk of money. So one of the things that I enjoy talking about is the mindset it took, because it's all mindset. It was all mindset and psychology that made that difference between year 2 and year 3. And if you'd like, I can drill down on that a little bit because one of the things that I do, I now teach people how to buy apartment buildings, multifamily properties. I've got the largest commercial real estate podcast, I think, in the world now. We broke 9 million downloads, and I absolutely love what it is I do. It's funny. You want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans. I never plan to do any of what I'm doing right now, but I started the podcast, and I used to tell people I'll never sell you anything. I just want to add value, tell you about my story, my experience. And of course, now I'm a liar because I've got courses and coaching and everything else. But, when I hit 1 million downloads, like, okay, knucklehead, you probably better do something with this because it's really taking off. And it's been a blessing. I mean, it's been a true blessing, but I digress. So, fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses, multiple apartment buildings. I've actually started and built 24 businesses. Several have been 3 or 4 have been worth tens of millions of dollars, but most of the rest have been, I don't call them failures, I call them seminars. Most of the rest have been spectacular flaming seminars. Okay. But I'm a serial entrepreneur for sure. But my big success has been around real estate. And so now I teach people how to buy apartment buildings, and I do live events. I had sold out live events up until May of this year. I've scheduled to have 800 people in Orlando. Of course, we all know what happened with that. And so I immediately pivoted and innovated, which if you're a leader and you're listening to David, I'm sure you are, you might have to innovate and pivot with what's happening right now. And I had to pivot, did live stream. If you go to multifamilyvirtualbootcamp.com, you'll see me in my backyard recording the video for the website we threw up in 2 days. But we had 900 people attend my first live stream event, and it was a biggest, in fact, highest grossing event we've ever had, which was just amazing to me. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that the first thing we teach is around mindset. First thing I teach is around mindset and psychology, because that's truly 80 to 90% of it. If it was just knowledge, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there. It's the do and it's the keep doing when you get your butt kicked and your nose bloodied, getting back up and pushing forward. And so, if you'd like, I'm happy to drill down on that topic a little more.
I think that's a good thing, because I know people that haven't been stuck for 2 years, but for 20 or 30. So, this could be really enlightening for them. And also what I'd like you to do, if you can throw in a dose too, you had those flaming seminars. One of the things I had to learn the hard way was we talk about hard work. We talk about never giving up, blah, blah, blah. I learned there was a difference between the words persistence and tenacity. And persistence is you never give up.
Mm-hmm.
Tenacity is you learn from your mistakes and you take a different route and never give up. So you don't go out and just never give up and repeat the mistakes.
Yeah.
So if you can include that as part of what you're going to explain, I would really appreciate it.
Absolutely. In fact, let's just do that right now. I spent I learned about mindset and psychology from someone that I worked with and caused me to 10x my income. And then I met Tony Robbins about 20 years ago and spent 20 years following him around the planet. He's the best in the world, obviously, at mindset psychology. And one of the things that he talks about is he has this success formula, he calls it. I think he calls it the ultimate success formula. And it ties into tenacity, exactly what you just said. But you have to know what it is you want. And I'll tell you how to do that in just a minute, with probably more clarity than you've heard before. But back to tenacity for a minute. So if you know exactly what it is you want, well, first of all, if you don't know what you want, how the heck are you ever going to get it? Okay. So that's number one. But if you know exactly what you want and you're taking an approach with your business that doesn't work, you keep your eye on that goal, that outcome, and you just change your approach. Okay. When that doesn't work, you keep your eye on that goal and your outcome, and you change your approach again. And there's never a straight line. I remember a business, I had a litigation support company in 2010 that I was close to bankrupting. And I changed my approach and it turned into a $10 million, 60 employee company. I sold it last year. So again, that's a success formula. The key is you don't stop. You have that tenacity. There's a book, 3 Feet from the Gold, that speaks to this, how so many people stop right before they break into success. But anyway, so that to further expand on your tenacity comment. But let me tell you, let me talk about the process I take people through at my live events, my live stream events, my students. And that is, it's this goal setting session. And I'm sure if you're listening to David, you already do your goals, but this is goal setting on steroids. Okay. So if you're listening or watching, I don't know if you put this on YouTube, but if you're, you do. Okay. So if you're listening or watching, take some notes, because I think this process I'm going to share with you, you'll find it to be incredibly powerful. So what you want to do is you want to pick an hour when you have a lot of energy, make sure you're hydrated. Let me get a drink here. Don't do it right after a meal. And sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life, okay? All the stuff. And imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it, which is not outside the realm of reality, because what it does is it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system, which is that subconscious filter that filters out subconsciously what your brain thinks you need to be focusing on. And the greatest example of it is when you first buy a car. You don't really notice them. And then when you buy the vehicle, you see them everywhere. Were they there before? Of course they were. Oh, yeah. That's your reticular activating system. And when you write your goals down, it starts that process. And the more you associate with your goals, the more enhanced that process becomes. But write down everything, all the stuff, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes, how much money you want in the bank in say 3 years, how much money you want in the bank in 10 years, how much revenue you want from your business or from your real estate, say in 3 years, either passively or actively, how much money you want in 10 years again, and all the big things, the little things. And again, imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it, because I will tell you, there's nothing you can't do, be, or have. Nothing. I look at Elon Musk. He's built $3 billion companies from scratch. I mean, don't tell me you can't make something happen, because it's just BS. There's nothing you can't do. You just have to make a decision, push through fear, and take action. And the only way you're going to do that is if you have a burning desire. Napoleon Hill calls it a burning desire in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And the only way to have that is to know what you want, and as importantly, know why you want it. So you're writing down all the things you want, but you're also going to write down all the things you want to do in this lifetime. Places you want to go, maybe mountains you want to climb. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane 8 months ago. I will never freaking do it again, but it's off the list. It's done. Okay. So whatever it is that you want to do, write it down. And so you're also write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime. So it's not just the stuff. Yes, the stuff is great. We want the stuff. The stuff motivates us. But write down the things you want to do, the places you want to go, the things you want to learn. Maybe it's a skill set, maybe a foreign language. If you want to learn multifamily real estate, I'm your guy. Come see me. My events are $97. I don't sell anything. They're 2 full days of training. It's like a duh. But if it's something else, fine. But write down what you want to learn. You want to be an entrepreneur. You want to learn business development. There's resources at our fingertips for all of these things. Then lastly, write down who you want to help. Because we'll do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. And again, this is the fuel to get us to take action, to get us to work a few years like most people won't, so we can live the rest of our life like most people can't. Okay? And so you need this fuel to push through limiting beliefs that you may have, to push through fear that you may have, or even worse, you might be comfortable. And the comfort zone's a warm place, but nothing freaking grows there, right? So you got to get out of comfort to take action. So you've written down all these things that you want, and keep writing. If you're analytical, don't stop and analyze it. Just keep writing until either your hand falls off or you can't think of another thing. Once you're done, then the next thing you must do is these are wishes now. They become real when you put a time limit on it. Put a time limit, how long it's going to take you to achieve each goal, and put a number for how many years. Maybe it's a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20. Recognizing that as human beings, we have a tendency to overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, 20 years. I'll give you a personal example of this. I lived in Denver for 30 years, but I knew I always wanted to live on the beach. So I would visualize palm trees and beaches and surf and boats. And I love looking at sailboats and all of that. And 20 years later, I built this incredible, 10,000 square foot, $8 million mansion on the beach. I owned the beach on one side and it was this cut through this island. On the backside, I had my boat lifts, and it was unthinkable when I was 18, but I visualized it. I dreamed about it, and I made it happen. So again, I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you that to inspire you that anything is possible. Okay. All right. So
now, Rod, I got a question for you. So you're writing out the whole list, and this reminds me of Gary Keller and his team and the one thing, writing down 100 things. What's the one thing I can do that'll really be a breakout? But I'm also wondering for the audience, do you find after you've got your lists that the way you schedule them is because some of them connect to another? So it's kind of like, I got to do this one first, and that's going to build to the next one. That's good. Do they build upon one another?
Interesting. I honestly, I don't teach that, and I hadn't thought about that, but it absolutely makes sense that you could chunk. Tony Robbins actually calls it chunking, where you chunk things together. You could absolutely chunk things that are similar together. I will tell you, as it relates to goals, I have vision boards. I've got them right here. Let's see which the first one is. Yeah, here's a travel vision board. These are all the places I've been or want to go, and so I've chunked those all together. So I don't know if that ties into your comment, but the next thing that you have to do after you put a time limit on each goal is I suggest you select some goals. And this doesn't really tie into chunking, but I chunk them by time. Actually, that's not true. The first goal I want you to pick is your number one goal. Pick the goal off that list that when you get it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. That goal. Pick that one, throw it on another piece of paper. That life-changing goal. Then pick 3 one-year goals. Now, I have you chunk one-year goals. Only because they're immediate. Those are things that are within your courage muscle to actually take action on. That pie in the sky goal might be a little bit, you might have to struggle that you believe you can do it, but the 3 1 years are definitely ones you believe you can do. So you're picking 4 goals, you're putting them on a separate sheet of paper. Leave some room in between them. Your number one amazing goal and your 3 1-year goals. The goals are important. And I will tell you, once you've gone this far, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do a New Year's resolution and forget about it in February. So pat yourself on the back. But then there's a couple more quick steps. The goals will push you, they'll pull you, they'll propel you, but they're not nearly enough. Why those goals are an absolute must is the real fuel. So you need to write a paragraph for each goal, why it's an absolute freaking must that you achieve it. You must achieve it. And you want to use emotionally charged words. Words are very powerful. Words like amazing, incredible, beautiful, magnificent. Use words because they will, emotion moves you and you want to use that. And you might put, I can show my kids what amazing success looks like, or I can show my wife or husband how it feels to live the incredible life of our dreams. Or, I want to give our family the freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, bring whoever we want, whatever it is. Put your whys down and make them compelling and make them emotionally charged. Now, once you've got your positive reasons why you must achieve those goals, I want to put a little spin on this. I want you to put some pain in there, that if you don't achieve it, and make it freaking painful. So I don't live a life of regret. So I don't fail my children. So I don't fail my husband or wife. So I don't feel like a failure. Here's why. Again, this is fuel. People will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And you want to use this to get you, like I said, past the limiting beliefs, past the fear, to take action, to get out of comfort, to build this life that you want so you don't have any regret. I will tell you, there's this nurse in Australia named Bronnie Ware, and she was a hospice nurse. So she counseled patients at the end of their lives, and she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what the number one regret was, David? It was not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I'm capable of. Guys, we don't want that. Okay. So, this is what helps you prevent that, get you that burning desire, get you that juice to make you take action. And then the last step. Yeah.
So Rod, am I understanding you? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a paragraph or maybe a bulleted list of 5 to 7 things of
the whys
that have superlatives that are the whys that are positive. And then I'm going to follow that maybe with a separate list or a short paragraph that's a reminder of I don't want to
feel if you don't achieve.
Negative. Yeah.
How you'll feel if you don't achieve.
Yeah.
And make it freaking painful. I mean, so I don't feel like a failure. So I don't fail at life. I mean, seriously. Again, I know that sounds harsh, but this is fuel. And very often you need that fuel. You've got to grind now so you can play later, right? You've got to push through comfort. And it takes that knowing exactly what you want with as much clarity as possible. And I'm going to give you some tools for that in a second. But the why is really the driver. The why is what gets you to push through when you get your nose bloody, which you inevitably will. That's life. We fail our way to success. So many people fear failure. I'm going to tell you, fear regret instead. That's something you should really fear. I can't think of anything worse than being at the end of your life wishing you'd done things. And we fail our way to success. I met the billionaire owner of Spanx, Sarah Blakely. She started with $5,000 and she was on Forbes last year. And she's, just a beautiful human being anyway. But I met her at a mastermind and she told me, this is awesome for those of you with kids especially. She told me that her dad used to ask them at the dinner table, what have you failed at today? Is that an awesome question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure? Again, I've had 24 businesses. Most have been spectacular, flaming. I don't like the word failure. I like to call them seminars. But again, all right, where was I? So the last piece, and I'll land the plane, is you need to get pictures of your goals, okay? You want to manifest these things, and very often you need visuals to help you do that. If you look around my office here, you'd see pictures of the things that matter to me now. But I'll give you some public examples. Great one is Jim Carrey. When he was flat broke, if you Google Jim Carrey check, you'll see the write-up on this. He wrote himself a check for $10 million. And he didn't have any money. He'd go up by the Hollywood sign. He'd sit there. He'd look at it, visualize cashing it. That's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. Another example, I forgot her name. Darn it. She's a singer. She's a famous singer now. You'd know the name if I just forgot it right now. But 10 years ago, she said she'd sing in the Super Bowl when she was nobody. She sang in this last Super Bowl, and she's a Latin singer. And it's frustrated. I can't remember her name right now. But anyway, that's the power of this. So get pictures of your goals. I'll give you some personal examples. When I was 18, I bought a 4-door car, which I thought I'd have to have because I was going to get rich selling other people's houses. Well, so I bought this Ford Granada, 4-door Granada, piece of crap. 4-door bench seat in the front, just bone ugly. Oh yeah, bone ugly. Anyway, but I worked with a guy that had a couple of Corvettes, and he let me drive one, and that's a key piece as well. That experiential piece. If there's something you want, go test drive the car. Go to open houses of the houses that you want. I went to the Miami Yacht Show. Back for Valentine's Day when it was a different world. Okay. The world was different then. It changed literally 2 weeks later. And I spent a couple $100,000 on watch and other stupid crap that I didn't need, jet skis and a boat and stuff, which I regret now, because that $200,000 with what's coming in the next year or so, the crash coming, there's going to be incredible opportunities for to utilize cash and maximize. I think there's a big wealth transfer coming. We can talk about that in a minute, but I was at the Miami Yacht Show, and I BS'd my way onto some big 150-foot yachts, letting them think I was really interested and had the means to do it. And I'd sit in the captain's chair, and I'd visualize owning the yacht, walking around it like I owned it, because it freaking works. Let me give you some personal examples of this. So I had that four-door Granada. I drove that friend's Corvette. I got a picture of a Corvette out of a magazine. This is before the internet. And I put that picture on the visor of my bone ugly Granada. So every time I sat there, it was right there in my face. Within a year or two, I had a Corvette. I'm going to give you some other quick examples. Please know I'm not bragging. Stuff doesn't even interest me anymore, but I'm hoping to inspire you as to the power of this. So back then was the TV show Magnum P.I. Okay. Yeah. And it was a detective show. I think it was in Hawaii, and the actor's name was Tom Selleck. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And he drove this gorgeous Ferrari red 308. Remember that? It was like first time I'd ever seen a Ferrari. I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I got a picture of that actual car out of a magazine, put on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati look just like it. Last example, car example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. When I first saw one of those, I'm like, oh my God, those are amazing. So I got pictures. I had pictures in my bedroom. It was the Countach back then. What's interesting is my son collected models of exotic cars, and he had about 30 or 40 of them. He had a model of the exact same color and style that I ended up getting. So get pictures. In fact, let me show you something. Get pictures. This is my planner. Those of you watching, if you're listening on iTunes, you can't see this, but it's on today. Today happens to be September 3rd. I don't know when this will air, but in the back of this thing, I've got pictures that I've had for 20 years. They're dog-eared. You can't see the dog ear here, but they're in plastic. The first pictures are my gratitude pictures. Because, guys, everything starts from a place of gratitude. To manifest things in your life with prayer or just visualization, you start with gratitude. So these are pictures of my kids when they were very young. So I've got those here first, so I'm grateful. Then I've got pictures of things that I wanted. That house on the beach I was telling you about, I lost it in all the craziness, okay, when I lost everything in 2008. I lost $50 million. Did I talk about that yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, let me mention that for a minute. So in 2006, my net worth went up $17 million. Okay. And I thought I was a real estate god. I thought I could do no wrong. And I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. But then there's a punchline. In 2008, I lost it all. I lost $50 million in 2008, including that house on the beach I mentioned. And So back to my pictures for a minute. This top picture was before I built the house, and it looked just like this. 10-foot high glass, travertine floors like this. And what's really crazy is if you look at these lower pictures, David, you can see the white wall in both those balcony pictures. Yeah, the picture behind me is my house now. See the wall? Is that crazy? I just noticed that recently. And then, other pictures of stuff, like I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches, which I thought was just stupid shit. The Lamborghini before I ever got it, Rolls Royce, Bentley, all this stuff that I got because I had pictures. So please don't poo-poo this if you're analytical, because this stuff really does work.
Can we pause there for a moment?
Yep. I'm done.
So I'd like you to talk a little bit more about, because I am totally in alignment with you, that you've got to start with gratitude. I think one of the major problems we've got in America right now is that people are not thankful for what we have, and they have an entitlement mentality, a selfish mentality, whatever, and they have been twisted by the media and whatever to believe they always deserve more. And you also talked about grinding it before you can actually achieve it and then start spending. I don't care where we are in life. If you want to get from point A to point B, you got to put some time in to get there. It's not turning on a light bulb and all of a sudden you get to spend money or do whatever you want.
Right. Let me show you something on my wall up here. Focus, grind now, play later. See that?
Yeah. That's okay.
Right. And comfort kills. That's a Grant Cardoneism. And I've got other sayings on my wall, I am statements, because anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. And there's no greater force in the human psychology than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. So I am a business genius. Again, not ego, just what I want to aspire to be. I'm the best in the world at what I do. I'm health and energy. I'm focus. I'm execution. I'm courage. I'm all these things that I want to embody. And I will tell you, people ask my kids at my live events, because they usually are at my live events, does he really do this shit? Because I yell this stuff out when I'm exercising. I am focus. I am courage. And luckily now I've got my own exercise room. No, I absolutely. It's
a little embarrassing at the club.
Running down the street, I didn't care. But because this stuff works, it gets into the fiber of your being when you're yelling these statements. But back to entitled, don't get me started on that one, because I will tell you, certainly the millennial generation has been tagged with that. Even my kids sometimes a little bit. I have to kick them in the butt. They both now are working very hard, yeah, that's I don't really want to go down that political.
No, and I think
with you, because I've got very strong feelings about it. But
I think it's unfair really to just tag the millennials. I think it spans all age groups.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Yeah, I think if we can get people focused on being thankful, I totally agree with you, because when we're thankful, what happens is then we want to take responsibility. Mm-hmm. To keep what we've got that we're thankful for, or to grow it. But without starting with the gratitude, we never get there.
Gratitude is the most powerful emotion that we have in our toolbox. You can't be fearful and grateful at the same time. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. Gratitude actually strengthens your immune system. It lowers your blood pressure. It's such an important emotion. I do a little gratitude every morning. I'll sit in this recliner behind my green screen here. You can see my blanket on it. I'll sit there and I'll just be grateful for the things I have in my life, my incredible, beautiful wife, my home here, this compound I live in now, it's kind of funny. I was starting to say that. I live in a compound now. I've got 6 buildings. You can see it behind me here. I'm on the water. I've got a beautiful giant main house, guest house on the water, media building where I do my video studio, and exercise room, a theater room, and on, and spectacular. And because God's got a sense of humor, I can see my old house that I lost across the bay, that mansion I was telling you about. It's literally right out my backyard. But anyway, yeah. But So gratitude is foundational. So every morning I'll sit and I'll be grateful for the things that I have in my life, my kids, my students, my foundation, these things that I'm proud of. And then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want, as if I already have them. So I'll sit and say, thank you, God, or thank you for the things that I want. And I'll even get emotional sometimes over things, excuse me, that I don't even have yet. Yeah, I'll be emotional with things that I don't even have yet. That's the power of this. And I'm sure I've lost a few more analytical ones here, but I'm telling you, big mistake, because this stuff freaking works. Okay, I mean, I bought 1,400 units in the last year and a half, and I'm living large again. I've got all the stupid toys that are people think are important again, but the point is, it's all mindset. It's all psychology. And the gratitude is foundational to all of it. So thank you for hammering it. Yeah.
Let me back up with a couple questions, and then why don't you talk about you kind of dropped a bomb a moment ago about where you're seeing some economic downturn coming, which I do too. So I'd love to hear your perspective. But I want to step back a little bit. So you talked about setting a long-term goal and then having 2 short-term goals, maybe you said 3
1-year goals. Out of all your goals, you better have 100 goals written down, guys. Okay, not like 15 or 20. I mean, you better dig deep and pull everything you can think of. Clothes for my wife, jewelry, the car for her, the house in Paris, the whatever, all of that. But you pick your number one, the one that when you achieve it, I don't want to say when you achieve it, it's like, I mean, you really have made it. Okay, that goal. And then 3 1-year short-term goals. So you can, really take massive action. By the way, one other thing I didn't mention, you should also write one thing that you're going to do towards each one of those goals as soon as you're done with that exercise, because that makes it real. When you schedule it, it's real. So put one thing you're going to do immediately toward each one of those goals. Anyway, but you were starting to ask a question. I think I cut you off.
Yeah. So I got 2 questions. First one is, on those 1-year goals, talk about the psychology behind that, because I'm wondering, as much as they may need to stretch you a little bit, but how much should they stretch you? And is part of the reasoning with the 1 years to really help yourself build some confidence, build some momentum out of the gate? Because although you might be stretching a little bit, you can hit these and then build on it.
Absolutely. Anytime you can have, and guys, you should be acknowledging your progress every step of the way. Every bit of progress you make, you have to pat yourself on the back. And even if it's just for a split second, good job, Rod, you freaking rock, as you're checking stuff off the to-do list, because happiness does not come from the goals. It comes from progress and growth. But you've got to consciously acknowledge that progress and growth. Because are you going to have setbacks? You better believe it. Are you going to have delays? You better believe it. But if you are acknowledging your progress and growth, regardless of how small it is, you will feel good because again, that equals happiness. I'll give you an example of this. So I built that house on the beach, and I worked for that thing for 20 freaking years, okay? I mean, this house is magnificent. Giant waterfall from the second floor into the pool, big spiral staircase up through the middle of the house, elevator, wine cellar. I could go on and on. In fact, the second floor, I had an aquarium that cost me almost $200,000. That gives you an idea of the house. So I'm in the pool 2 months after I moved in. My family's inside sleeping. I'm floating around in the pool at night, looking up at this giant testament to my ego, which is really what it was. I built this house to prove the world I was good enough. That's the truth of the matter. And I'm looking up at this thing, lights shining on it and palm trees out over it and just spectacularly beautiful. Pool's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting. And I get really depressed. And I'm like, what the hell? How could I be depressed? I just achieved success like times 1,000. And there were several things going on. I mean, I was really bummed, David. Several things going on, and it ties into what we're talking about right now. One was, I didn't know what I was going to do next. I'd achieved this massive goal. So whenever you're about to achieve a big goal, make sure you got other goals lined up behind it. Because like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. And I didn't have a vision for the future. So that's number one. Number two is, again, happiness comes from progress and growth. It doesn't come from the goal. It's never the goal. It's the goal. You need the goals. You absolutely need them. You have to have a target, but you have to recognize that if you stop when you achieve the goal, you're not going to be happy. It's the progress. But the big thing for me, at least, those are all important. But the big thing for me was I've been totally focused on Rod. Rod. Show the world I'm good enough. Show the world I matter. And I was successful, but I was unfulfilled. Okay. And so I went and saw Tony that year. This is 20 years ago. And I saw that he fed families for the holidays. I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I had to be 40 to get that memo. And I went home and I fed 5 families, really changed my life. And I'm blessed to say, David, in the last 20 years now, we've fed 80,000 plus children for the holidays with my foundation. We've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local children. We've done tens of thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in vehicles when they encounter a child that's been traumatized. I've started a foundation. It's called the Tiny Hands Foundation. I paid for everything up until 2008 when the market crashed. And now we take donations, but I'm not plugging for a donation because I fund most of it anyway. But the point is that made me fulfilled. And so many people, and I don't know if you listen to David, you might have blood dripping from your teeth. You're young. You want this more than anything. And I'm going to tell you, you need to give back right now. Don't wait to do something to help other people. We have 2 arms, one to pull ourselves up, one to pull someone else up underneath us. That's how you be fulfilled. So many people are achieving to be happy. It's much faster and more fun when you happily achieve. And you're only happily achieving if you're fulfilled and you're adding value to other people and you're helping other people, like you and I do on our podcast, David.
Yeah, and I think this goes back once again to the gratitude piece we talked about. And really, when I teach leadership, I say the number one thing you've got to do with each of the people on your team is connect them to meaningful work. And it's no different when you're the entrepreneur and you're the leader. Let me go back to my other question. So we've got these 3 goals we're going to get done this year. And what I've found with a lot of people where they struggle, and you kind of teed this up with your focus on the process and working through things, but I find that what helps a lot of them, particularly if they are more analytical or skeptical naturally, is if they can focus on the process. I want to achieve X, but okay, how do I divide that up week by week or day by day? Because what I need to do is I need to make regular process, because as you said, you're going to have ups and downs, But if you can, like my fiance is in real estate and she's killing it this year, and she doesn't have a numerical goal, but she has to do so many points each day. She has a little point system for what she does, and she stays on track with her points, and business just appears.
Wow.
Because she's honest, she's ethical, she's great. So
you've just helped me, David. You've just helped me in a big way in communicating this to a lot of the students that I have are very analytical. You've absolutely just helped me. I need to focus on helping them with the process. Thank you. You gave me a big gift today, my friend.
Well, that's what I found as I work with I work in the tech industry. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the tech,
all analytics, right?
That's right. So they struggle. They're like, oh yeah, I'll get that done. And Monday they do nothing on it. Tuesday, they do nothing on it. They start to feel a little pressure. Wednesday, they still do nothing on it. And now they're totally overwhelmed. And they don't communicate to anybody that they're behind and they're not going to meet the deadline on Thursday or Friday. No. And the way to get around that is I say, you've got to teach people a habit of, okay, here's my goal.
By the day.
Exactly. How do I break it into bite-sized chunks? And I have interviewed hundreds of people. People pay me to interview people. I'm a hiring expert. And I've only had one person in 16 years of hiring that has been that profile behaviorally. And I said, oh, it looks like you this profile. Do you struggle with deadlines? And he said, actually, no, I don't. I realized I was that way. And a few years ago, I developed this new habit where I break things down into pieces with shorter deadlines. And now I nail my deadline, my overall deadline or my bigger goal consistently every time. Only one guy, Rod.
Wow. I love it. I'm going to talk to my team about this conversation because this is huge for us, because I think this will really help my students. I've got, pushing 500 students now, and most of them, my avatar is an analytical engineer in the IT space. I have a lot of females, but the bulk is probably men. Probably about a fourth of them are female, but and they're rock stars too. But almost all of them are super analytical, and this will absolutely help them. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Let me know if you want me to talk with your team at all. I'm happy to share what I learned.
I might do that. Thank you. I might do that. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's transition. Sounds like we're in agreement on that. So let's transition to your thoughts on what's coming up in the future and why for some people that's not going to be good, but for the people you're training, actually, it's going to be an opportunity.
It could be a chance of a lifetime, honestly, and not just in real estate either, in buying and redoing businesses as well. To think that we're not headed for a serious situation is naive. Even today in the real estate space, Trump just allowed another eviction. Well, Trump and the CDC really allowed another eviction moratorium until the end of the year. I mean, if you're a landlord that hasn't had rent in 3 or 4 months, and now you've got to hold on another 3 months, a lot of them are going to go down the tubes. And it's sad. It's really sad the how this has come about, and I have pretty strong feelings about the mistakes that have been made. But be that as it may, you can't have the level of unemployment that we have right now. The level, all these, I went to South Beach, Miami, which is a place my wife and I love to go just for the energy of it and the food and the restaurants and all of that. And we go to this place called Lincoln Road that's got shops and restaurants. And I did a Facebook Live on this. It was so disappointing. I saw some of our favorite restaurants have closed permanently, places that are iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Retailers that have closed permanently. Like 30% of the retail was gone. And it's just a travesty what's happening with this COVID business and really how this has been handled and let's not get political, but the point is the stuff is going to hit the fan. There's a lot of people out of work. United just announces they're laying off 16,000 people. All the airlines are going to have layoffs. It's going to get ugly and it's going to be a crisis, but with crisis comes opportunity. And so I like to focus on the positive. I've been trained to focus on the positive, not to get sucked in. And guys, if you're listening to David, you're a leader. And right now, more than ever, the world needs leaders and leaders that can direct their focus, because whatever you focus on is going to get larger. And if you're sucked into CNN, the fear is going to grow, because they're not there to inform you. They're there to startle and scare the hell out of you. And they have a political agenda. But the point is you've got to direct your focus. Now, in my podcast, every week I do a 5-minute clip called Own Your Power. It's motivational, it's inspirational, and it's non-multifamily. It doesn't matter what you do. I hope you'll check it out. My podcast called Lifetime CashFlow. If you put real estate in your iPhone, I'll come up number 1 or 2 every time. But the point is, you want to bring in the good stuff. You need to stand guard at the door to your mind and keep the crap out, particularly the media. And bring in the good stuff. There's so much good stuff on YouTube. There's inspirational, educational, all these things. Find that stuff and focus on that, because you're a leader and there are people watching you. Because again, if you direct your focus to the wrong place, whatever you focus on is going to grow, positive or negative. I'll give you a great illustration of this. They asked Mother Teresa when she was alive if she was anti-war or pro, and she said, no, I'm pro-peace. And so that's the difference I'm talking about. Your focus is critical. We're heading for a crash. I just did a YouTube video that said the coming crash of 2021 in real estate crash of 2021. But there's going to be lots more businesses as well. Already tons of them have failed. The PPL and the government assistance here, I think has exasperated what's coming. And it's been going on for a long time. I had an interview on my show with a noted economist that says the crash is coming here any day as well. I've been saying it for 3 months. This to me smells like 2006 and 2007 all over again, just based on what I saw then. I think it's going to be as big or bigger, frankly. So that's my opinion.
I think you're taking the right track. It sounds like we're pretty much in agreement. You can look back on Medium, and in March, I said, I'm sorry, but you cannot shut down the economy due to COVID, because the amount of lives you're going to lose due to shutting down the economy is going to be 5x, 10x, whatever, due to people that will die from the disease, which is an awful thing. But rather than, talk about the political side, the basic fact is that we are going to run into a downturn. It's going to be significant. We've been held up on air for a long time, and then this COVID thing has extended it. I'm kind of curious. My understanding, and I'm not an expert in real estate like you, is that in my area, rates have been really high for apartments lately.
Oh yeah, no.
The reason is there's a false vacancy rate.
No, it's not that. It's not that.
What is it?
It's not that. Well, first of all, if you're alluding to the stimulus, yes, that has created a false vacancy rate, because, there are people, just so you know, we did a study for my mastermind. I have a multifamily mastermind. It's the largest, I think, in the world, with close to 10 billion in assets in it. And we did a study of the unemployment dynamic. And do you know that those people that were getting the extra $600 a week, 80% of them were making more money unemployed than they were employed? Is that a recipe for freaking disaster? But listen, rents are up. But the beautiful thing, and that's why I love my business, the beautiful thing about multifamily is that even in the crash of 2008, they pulled back, but most multifamily survived. And in fact, that's why I started my podcast. When I lost everything, I had 800 single-family houses spread out, and I had some apartment complexes. The houses pulled me down. The apartment complexes did just fine. And so, I would have survived if I hadn't cross-collateralized those apartment complexes and borrowed money against those in conjunction with packages of houses. That's what pulled the whole kit and caboodle down. But, so yes, rents look really good right now, but what's sad is the most economically challenged demographic in our population is the one that's going to get crushed. It's the people that are making under $20 an hour, that are in the service industry and all these other related industries that are going to crash first. And of course, this thing builds on itself as businesses start failing, and that's why I believe it's going to be significant. Now, that said, there are people that will do okay through all of this. There are people that won't suffer. Lots of people won't. But, I think the latest number was it 40 million on unemployment right now? I think that's the latest thing I saw. I mean, it's just staggering how many, and I don't think they're all unemployed, but there are that many receiving the benefits.
And then there's a lot that aren't even listed who are unemployed, but they no longer qualify, or they didn't file, or whatever it might be. So, I mean, we could go down a whole route there, but I think
there's lots to talk about there for sure. The PPL loans,
I would suggest, just to build on this for my audience, that please check out, learn more about Rod and what he's doing.
Oh, thank you.
Into his podcast. Please give the URL again on that.
Yeah, let me say this. If you're interested in what I do, text Rod Live to 41411 is one word, or text you could just text Rod to 41411 and you'll get into my ecosystem. We'll send you the link to my website. I've got tons of free material about real estate investing. If you have any interest in that, come see me. My boot camps, like I say, are $97 for 2 days. I don't sell anything. It's full. It's drinking through a fire hose. I mean, I'll show you if you're watching this on YouTube. Here are the resources that you get at my event. I mean, there's like 6 inches of books here and manuals that I help you, master this business, because it's not a simple business, but it's a very lucrative business. But so that's the best way to get them. Or just go to rodkhleif.com is my website. KHLEIF is in Frank.com.
Or you have the other one that was. What was the other website? Multifamilyvirtualbootcamp.com, which is the new website that I did. You'll see me in my backyard talking about why you need to get into this business. I appreciate you having me on, my friend.
Oh,
no problem. And I want to emphasize to people, because I went to college, quit early, went to work on the floor of the stock exchange when there was one in San Francisco, and had a family whose background was in real estate. And the reason I'm emphasizing this to everyone is that I think if you check out what Rod's doing, you're going to learn some things about leadership and how to achieve goals, but you're also going to learn something about timing and systems. Because I know, Rod, we didn't get into it, but I know you're all about systems.
I'm not great at a lot of things, but systems is definitely one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because every business is nothing but people and systems. That's it.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that's really a key here. If we go into this downturn, there is going to be opportunity. You need to know how to time it. You need to know how to systematically make good decisions, and how to do that. And Rod, I think if you spend some time with the things he's doing, you're going to learn some stuff. And if you do the boot camp, I mean, $97, come on, that's a nice dinner out with your spouse. So
thank you.
That's not a big deal. So anyway, Rod, really great to have you on.
I just thought of something. Forgive me. The price went up to $147. If you want the 97, use the code RODFRIEND. I'm not supposed to do that publicly, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I forgot that we raised the price to $147. So use the code RODFRIEND and you can come for 97. There you go.
There we go. So don't miss it, folks. Thanks. You very much. Thanks, Rod. Hope our paths cross again. Sounds like we got a lot of things in common, and happy to help your team if you decide you want to contact me on that.
I very much enjoyed the conversation, and I will circle back with you for sure. Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
Appreciate it. All right. Take care. See you.